Hey there. I want to take a few minutes and just bring you in on a journey that I had that brought me to a point of decision. 27 years ago today, April 13th, 1990, actually right around this time, it was about 9 o'clock when we were filming this, right around this time, I drank my last drink of alcohol. For 5 years, I had battled with alcoholism. I recognized 5 years prior that I was an alcoholic. I had gone through AA, I had gone through meetings, I tried to quit, and I could not quit. I was powerless over it. I literally was powerless over it. Everything I did, I wake up every morning, I'm not gonna drink, I'm not gonna drink, I'm not gonna drink. Guess what? That night I'd be drinking, or that day, or whatever. I drank in the morning, I drank at night. I had learned to use alcohol to cope. My first drink was around the age of 17. I used to sit and have a beer or two before going to high school. Not a healthy lifestyle. And over the course of a number of years, I think I was about 31 when I quit. I had been in and out of relationships, had a lot of, my relationship skills sucked, quite frankly. Of course, I used alcohol to relax and calm and all that, but it became too much. It became not just, some of you out there right now, you might be able to have a drink or two and just relax, have some fun with some people. That's okay. I'm not knocking it. If you can drink and be responsible, that's okay. I couldn't. I could not. As somebody said, I had no shut-off valve. If I had one, I had 20. I had to get drunk. Drunk became my norm. And so as I said, 27 years ago, I came to the point of despair where I didn't want to drink anymore. But it took me 5 years to get there. Like I said, going through AA meetings, I got a sponsor, one didn't work. I got another sponsor, that one didn't work. One time I remember going to an AA meeting and I said I was going to come here last week, but I felt it'd be hypocritical because I went to the beer store on the way to the meeting. That's how bad it was. I really didn't want to quit. But what happened in October of 1989 was I met some people that were very successful and they didn't drink. And they gave me a picture of people that could have fun and not drinking. I got a vision of what life would be successful. You know, the scripture says in Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. And you see, those 5 years I didn't have a reason. I knew I didn't want to drink, but I didn't know why. I didn't have a solid reason. But then I started to get around some people. I started to associate with some different people, saw people giving credit for their success to the Bible of all things, and they had lifestyles where they actually were enjoying themselves and didn't drink. And then I was hooked up. God brought a man by the name of Brian Casey into my life. And in March of 1990, Brian and I were starting to get to know each other, but in March of 1990, Brian and I and a bunch of other people were on our way to a business meeting in Toledo, Ohio. But Brian's van broke down, and so what ended up happening was a bunch of people went on ahead, but we stayed in a garage that night and basically camped out in his van. That night, I met a man who actually felt. I met a real man. Up until this point in time, all my relationships with any man, it was all superficial and macho, and it was macho men and all this facade. But Brian Casey was a real man who had real feelings, and it really related to me. And from that point on, I caught a vision of what my life could be like. I wanted to have that love and that realness in my life, and I knew that alcohol was in the way. I recognized that alcohol was stopping me from getting what I wanted in life. As I said, some of you might be able to drink socially, and that's great. I couldn't. Alcohol was a problem for me. But some of you out there, and this is the reason I wanted to put this out there, is that some of you may have problems with alcoholism. You may know that you're an alcoholic, or you may be wondering. You may be a drug addict. You may be a pornography addict. It's all the same. It's all the same, because what you're doing, what I was doing, was I was medicating myself to numb the pain and not actually dealing with my problems, not dealing with life. But I caught a vision of what my life could be like. I caught a vision of success. I caught a vision of having a family. And I knew that I just didn't want to, and I just got an ugly about who I was. And then there came a point in time, as I really started to get there, I had the sense that God would no longer protect me if I drank and drive. I had drunk and drive. I had drank many times. I was so bad. I was drinking. I was so drunk that I couldn't keep the car on the right side of the road, and I knew it, but I wouldn't stop until I got home. Dangerous, stupid. One time, a bunch of kids, we were about 20-ish. I went right through a stop sign, sped right through on a crossroads that was like this. Only by the grace of God, there was nobody coming. If there had been somebody coming, that person would have been killed, and so would we have. But the alcoholism, I lost all sense of reason. And that's what drugs do. That's what pornography does. That's what alcohol does, and any other thing that you're using as a crutch that way. But in April of 1990, I got a sense that God would no longer protect me. I felt like his hand of protection would be off my life. I didn't even know God at the time. I was not a born-again Christian at the time. I had not met God. But I just had that sense. So I got really scared to drink and drive. That's a good thing, but I still would drink. There was a bar about 3 blocks from my house. I would walk over and drink and come home. So it didn't solve the problem. It solved part of the problem. It didn't solve the problem. But then came the day, the fateful day, April 13, 1990. As I said, Brian Casey and I had become very, very good friends. I trusted him. I respected him. And I was in this bar. I don't remember what it was called. It was on the corner of St. Vincent and Cundall's in Barrie. It's no longer there. And I was playing darts with the son of the owner of the bar. And the son was, I think, about 17. He was kind of a chunky kid, so I kind of felt for the guy. And I was playing darts with him. And then this real sense of ugliness came over me, as I had this sense of, I don't know if I was, but I felt like I might be influencing this kid. And I thought, oh my God, I don't want to be an influence on people if that's who I am. And I came home that night, and some other things happened I won't get into, but then I called Brian Casey. It was about 10 o'clock at night. I had to go into work at midnight that night. It was Good Friday, so I've been off all day. And I said, Brian, I've been drinking. And Brian says, okay, well, Wayne, it's time to put up or shut up. And he heard me. He knew I wanted to quit. But Brian wasn't like that. But he put that before me. He confronted me with that. And here, it's like, here's your decision, Wayne. It's time to make the decision. And I said, I don't know if I can. He said, well, we'll take it a day at a time. And I said, that's too long. He said, we'll take it an hour at a time. I said, oh God, that's too long. He said, Wayne, we'll take it a minute at a time. And I said, that's too long. Now, can you imagine where my mental state was at the time? 1 minute, 60 seconds was too long. I didn't think I could stay sober for 60 seconds. And Brian says, tell you what, get a bit of rest. When you go to work, call me. I'll come over on my break. I'll come over at 1:30. I'll talk to you. So Brian came at 1:30 a.m. and we talked. And then we made a plan that next day I would go home, rest, and then I would go to his house. And I think there was an AA convention on. And we went to that all day. And then that night, it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm sitting at Brian Casey's house. And I wanted to quit so bad. I'd gotten in 24 hours. I wanted to quit so bad. But I knew that on the way home there was that bar. And I knew I couldn't trust myself So I made a decision then and there. I'm staying here until 1:05, because then the bar's closed and I'll have surpassed that. I went home that night and I didn't know how I was going to sleep. It was a Saturday night. I worked night shift. I didn't go to sleep, guys. I drank myself to sleep. I passed out. But I put on a tape, a positive thinking tape, and I didn't plan to go to sleep. I planned to lie on the couch and listen to the positive thinking tape, and that calmed my mind down enough that I was able actually to go to sleep. And I'd love to say right now, I'd love to say that was it, I was sober, all that. And I was, but it wasn't as easy as that. That was the beginning of the battle, because here's the thing, now my mind had to clear up. Now I no longer had that coping mechanism. I had to make some serious changes in my life. I had to forsake friends, even not go to family functions as much for a season, just because I couldn't be around any kind of alcohol. I really literally had to stay away from that long enough that I could get strong enough that then I could go back in. And around the 3-month mark, I had a very serious disappointment, and I almost went back out drinking. I'd come home from a business meeting, I was disappointed, I was wearing my suit, and I decided I'd taken 2 nights off work and I was about to take a 3rd one off. I was gonna go back out drinking, but I decided, well, I don't wanna wear my suit, and I needed cash. They didn't have debit machines then, so I had to go to the bank machine and get cash. Now it was 11:30 at night. I had about an hour and a half I could drink. And I got home and my roommate says, oh, by the way, your work called and they're wondering if you're gonna come in. And I realized then and there, oh my God, I could lose my job. And I made the decision to go into work that night, and I never looked back. And from that point on, I'll be honest, I journaled, I wrote the crazy thoughts, the rage, the anger, the emotions that I was experiencing. It was nuts. But at 3 months, after walking through 3 months, going to the AA program and receiving the chips and having that vision of success in front of me, I looked at that and I said, I'm never going back through that 3 months ever again in my life. That was the most horrendous 3 months of my life. I'm never going back through that. Because I knew if I had one drink, just one drink, I knew if I had that, I'd have to go back through that again. And I'm not going back through that again. And at that point, and that kept me going 24 hours at a time. Just, I can do it today. I can do this hour. I mean, for a period of time, I think we went to AA meeting 50 days in a row. Sometimes just caught 5 minutes of it just so I could stay sober. And then on January 13th, 1991, exactly 9 months to the day from the day I'd said no to alcohol, my final drink, I was in Toledo, Ohio, and I received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And from that point on, He delivered me from alcoholism. I became a Christian, got on fire for God, fell in love with Jesus Christ, and alcohol no longer had a hold on me. And I say that today because it was 27 years ago today that I made that decision. I tried to make the decision before, but it was 27 years ago today that I wanted it so bad, and I had a reason and a purpose that I was willing to put in the building blocks. I would phone Brian Casey at 5 a.m. and Brian was willing, and he would get up because I recognized that at 5 a.m., if I was feeling sorry for myself, at 10 a.m. when I got off work, or sorry, 8:30, but 10 a.m. when the beer store opened, I'd be at the beer store. I wanted it so bad that I was willing to do whatever it took. And I know that out there's some of you that you have a dream, you have a vision, and something's holding you back. It might be drugs, it might be alcohol, it might be a bad relationship, it might be pornography, it could be anything. But I'm here to tell you today that if you want it, and you're willing to do anything and everything it takes to have it, you can get it. I hope this helps you. God bless you. My phone number will be on the... Actually, my phone number, if you want to text me or reach me, is 705-627-8917. My email, if you prefer that, is realmenarise@hotmail.com. That's REALMENARISE@hotmail.com. Feel free to comment, to forward your thoughts. If you want help, I'm here for you. I can hook you up with people if I'm not the one to help you. God bless you. Thank you.